Welcome to Constructor Talks, the show where curiosity meets creation. I'm Renee Wells, and together we explore how research today is constructing the world of tomorrow. Each episode, we go beyond the press release to meet the minds behind the science, the people, the questions, and the ideas shaping our future. Today, we have Professor Dr. Klaus Boehnke, and he works here at Constructor University, and he recently has worked on the Diversity Barometer, which is very interesting. And here's the press release. I'll just show the camera. I'm not going to read the whole thing because it has all these different facts and stuff, but maybe just very briefly, Klaus, before we dive into this, you could basically tell us a little bit about your background and your field that you work in here at the university.
Yeah, I came to Constructor when I was still named International University Bremen and then Jacobs University. So I've been here from 1st of February 2002.
Wow.
So quite some time. And my background is in psychology, but don't mistake me as a clinical psychologist. I am a social psychologist, developmental psychologist, and here I torture students with statistics. So that's what they love mainly. No, they don't. And in my research, I've been doing something that, if you take a narrow label, it would be called political socialization research. That is how people become participants or members of societies and act in societies.
Like tribes, basically? Sort of?
I would rather say you throughout your life, you learn how to behave in a societal context, in a political way, not in a partisan political way, but in a sense of as a citizen, and this is what I've been doing.
And what drew you to this field first?
Yeah, that's an interesting question. I think I come from a rather political household.
All right.
And so politics were very often talked at the dinner table. The radio was on quite often. So political ongoings. The first I remember was the 1956 Olympics. I was 5 then. That was also the time when there was a Suez Canal crisis or something like that. So
I read about it.
and then there was the Soviet troops went into Hungary in the same year. I think the political discussions that kind of that we had at home, it brought me into the topic and kept me there all the time.
Interesting. And so we've got this idea of a barometer, right? This diversity barometer. And I brought something today. Do you know what this is?
This is a classical barometer.
Yeah.
Which I think I wouldn't even exactly know what it measures. It measures something like air pressure, doesn't it?
Yeah, it's got screws in the back where I can adjust it, basically. But so this is from my family. Schwarze Bremen was a import-export company.
Yes.
And basically, this is one of their freebies. Today we have lanyards. They used to have nice wooden, beautiful things.
Yeah.
And the reason I brought it is because when I think of a barometer, I think about weather. And you see here, this was a few days ago, it says veränderlich and schönes Wetter, so nice weather, constant weather. And over here we have storm.
Yeah.
So the question I want to ask you is, how is the word barometer being used in the context of diversity? Whether it's stormy or good, or does this have no metaphoric meaning in that sense?
It is also something like a title that people are supposed to remember. So there's another study I do that's called the radar.
Okay.
And so the radar does measure something, the barometer measures something, and the more simple terms would be survey, they survey something or something. So this is a kind of a branding issue.
Got it.
And the diversity barometer is an invention of the funder, of course, the Robert Bosch Foundation or Robert Bosch Company. There's actually no difference between foundation and the company. And they said, we want to do this. They had witnessed what I'd been doing for Bertelsmann Foundation and on the social cohesion radar.
Right.
And they said, well, but social cohesion is only one part. We also want to focus in a little more on diversity or acceptance of diversity. And So they came up with the Diversity Barometer label, and then in 2019 we kind of developed an approach. How could you measure the degree of acceptance of diversity, and what would be the core topics? And that was, I think that's why it is an important step forward, because often diversity is only taken as looking at, are there many immigrants or are there
Right.
not many immigrants? And this is, of course, too narrow a definition of diversity, because we have the gender topic, we have the sexual orientation topic, we have how are handicapped people treated, how are the different age groups relating to each other. So Germany is getting older and older, and so how do the grandchildren generation get along with their grandparents, and all these things. And so we have developed an approach how to measure that.
That's what I'd like to hear more about, is like, how did you do the research? We can talk about the results, but the results
sure.
can be read, but how does the research actually work?
How does it work? Actually, usually we rely on surveying larger samples of people who live in Germany.
Okay.
It's not just citizens, but what we have always included representative samples of people who are older than 16 and live in Germany. So why
are you doing the surveys, or surveys that are done by other people?
That's a very good question. We're not doing them ourselves.
Okay.
The Bosch Foundation actually asks a company, give them some cost estimates, and then they choose a company
Send them out.
does but we develop the questionnaire that they're supposed.
I see.
And then they draw the sample. We're not always perfectly satisfied with how they draw the sample, because
How so?
The companies, well, the best thing would be, but nobody can pay that much nowadays, is the companies send out interviewers to people's homes and ask them at their home, what do you think about this, that, and that?
Right.
But typically nowadays, what the companies have is so-called panels, and panels are people who have said they're interested in participating in studies.
So they're already.
And they have let's say there are 20,000 a body of
So it's not as random as one would like, basically.
It is not really random, but it is always a sample of people who are willing to participate in these studies, and so this is kind of it's always study volunteers who answer these questions
on a large scale. So.
Yes, but it must be, of course, large samples. Below 3,000 for Germany is a nuisance. We had more than 4,000 people that were participating in our study. There have been other studies where we had yet more, like 6,000 or something. But it's not what you find in the newspapers every day. This company has found that 80% of the Germans, for such thing, they asked 800 at best, if not 300. Yeah. But this is certainly not something you should be doing on that level, because there would be too much error.
I had the pleasure of working in the United States Census in the year 2000. I went door to door, and actually
that is the way it should.
It was an amazing lesson in basically first overcoming the fear of knocking on people's doors, and trying to get them to talk to you.
Yes,
and one thing I learned about that experience, because in the U.S. Census, it's very much trying to identify race and ethnicity, but it's all self-identifying. I could not say, oh, it's a black person, or it's this. I had to say, how do you see yourself? And so I'm wondering, to what extent is the survey designed to make sure that there's no bias from the interviewer? Do you know what I mean?
Yes, sure. This is of course something that plays a major role, and that is the disadvantage of the procedure if you send interviews to people's houses.
Right, you don't know how they are.
Yeah, for example, then you have women interviewing men, white people interviewing blacks,
Right.
and all that, or Republicans interviewing Democrats or something.
Texans versus New York.
Right, and but here these are online panels. So
Okay.
people have said to the company that conducts these studies, I would be willing to participate in
So it's a written,
in your
it's a
survey.
purely written format.
It is purely written
Online
format.
written,
There
yeah.
is no interviewer,
Mm-hmm.
but of course the company introduces itself, and we conduct a study in writing. Here we conduct a study for the Bosch Foundation, conducted by academics or scientists from Constructor University in Bremen, and it is about blah blah blah, and then the people are supposed to tick boxes.
Okay. How long does that survey take?
That depends a bit on the speed of the people, but typically,
Sure. I mean,
we say you shouldn't make people work longer than half an hour on this.
okay.
So it's I think the average in our 2025 leg of the Diversity Barometer was I think something like 22 or 27 minutes.
Okay, yeah.
So people are on it for quite a while.
It's actually quite a bit, yeah.
And we also have, of course, you might ask that as your next question. We have some attention checks in the middle, because some people also say click 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 click. So they just
Fill in the boxes.
fill in the boxes
like our students.
rather at random, but we have it. There are attention check tricks.
That's good.
And so we can, but not many of them. Fool us, because they earn a little money with it, and once they are caught of being inattentive, they get out of the program.
Right. Okay.
And you can't make a living on filling questionnaires, but it's a nice, say, pocket money, one would say.
Sure.
Yeah.
So you gather the sample, you gather the data in, and then and then what's the next part of the approach?
Then, of course, first of all, we check whether everything is correctly filled. For example, we do checks like we typically ask not only one question per topic, but let's say 8 questions per topic, and we call that a scale. Then, and if the participant responds with the same answer on every item,
Right.
and we say, let's check another one. Then we throw those data away.
Okay.
It's there is a.
You're trying to find that golden middle of hopefully valuable.
There should be something like variation in the responses. It's not. There aren't people who are so convinced or so unconvinced of something that they always go to the extreme of one side or the other side.
Okay.
If these are then thrown out, so this is data.
The outliers.
Data cleaning.
Mm-hmm.
A good company would do that for us.
Okay.
But the real good companies are then more expensive. So the Bosch Foundation decided, I won't say any names of the companies, but decided on a company.
You take the bid, right?
That was okay-ish, but it was not top of the pops. And and then we get the data set. And in 2019, when we did the first, call it wave, or the first study of the Diversity Barometer, we then tried to find out how the different facets are treated. And we found that there really are 7 facets of diversity that can be distinguished. There also was one, it's probably not of greater interest, but there was one that didn't really make it into the final round of aspects, because people also have a how much they accept elites. That was a tricky one,
That's
and the
interesting.
behavior, the response behavior, just didn't work out. So
Yeah,
we
I
finally
can imagine some elites I like, some elites I don't because of personal interest. Yeah.
right, and we had to throw this aspect. We had questions on how much do you accept elites, like. We asked for lawyers and state attorneys and this, and the response patterns were not really anything that we could work with.
I understand. Okay.
Because if you ask, say, 4 or 5 questions on a certain topic, you should get a response pattern that people tend to either be low on all 5, not identical, but or tend to be high on all 5, and not one. And the next question, which is actually worded very similar, is answered totally opposite to the first one. This makes no sense, or is senseless, and that we have to clear first, and then we run that what I said in the very beginning.
Clean data.
We torture what I torture my students with. We run certain statistical procedures.
Okay.
On this.
So you're using the student here as part of the research project, basically.
Yes, also.
You've been saying we a lot, and I'm just, I know this Regina Arendt was involved in this project, and I know that also Georgi Dragov was involved together, so that you have a team working together. So maybe you could tell us a little bit more of the team and how you guys did it.
Well, the team is typically people who I've worked with for quite some time. They both had the PhD with me,
right?
And Georgi Dragolov is our genius number twister.
Nice.
He knows all the statistical procedures inside out, and all of us are well versed in statistics, but he does the job.
I understand.
So
you're teaching the students through the process of doing the research project.
Yes,
That's
or
great.
at least when the data are in, we use these data to show students also
possibilities,
what you can do with the data,
right, okay.
how you can run a certain statistical procedure on these data. So we use real research and not any mock numbers to show our students how, say, nobody will know what that is, but factor analysis is conducted. And
so you crunch the numbers, and then
we have a certain outcome, and Regina is essentially our writer.
Okay.
She's a very quick and her writing has a lot of plasticity, and so in the end, I go over the text. I also like to write, and but I also understand the statistical procedure because I'm teaching this most of the time.
So you're sort of in the middle.
I'm kind of the guy who has to balance
the Godfather.
Too much technical stuff should be avoided, and just text without any reference to the statistical results would also not be good.
So you have this result, which has now been published and being talked about by many people. You're doing a variety of interviews because it's basically, like as you started today, this political background, right? And so, I'm going to ask a very simple question. The overall trend in a nutshell is what?
The acceptance of diversity is unfortunately going down.
That's what I was afraid of.
Yeah. It's not dramatic, particularly if you look at our overall indicator. I said we have 7 aspects of diversity we look at, and if we take all the 7 together, we lost about. We have the average score for Germany was 68 in 2019, and it's now at 63.
Okay.
So this means that. Yes, people are still convinced that diversity is something that is worthwhile to pursue, but this is going down. And the core of the difficulties that we incur is that this is very different for the 7 different aspects.
Okay.
We have a major drop when we look at the acceptance of ethnic group belonging.
Right.
This is a nice academic term for in America one would probably say
racism or prejudice.
Yes, and this has gone down 17 points.
That's a big drop.
And that, well, on average we have a drop of 5 points, and there we have a drop of 17 points.
Okay, that's.
And religion is the other problematic thing, but the other problematic aspect, but in a very different way, because Germany, unlike the United States, unlike several other countries, but not in Central Europe, there are a lot of countries who are alienated from religion quite a bit, like Czech Republic is very little religiosity, but Germany also is low on religiosity, and many of the immigrants, particularly those who come from the circum-Mediterranean countries, are more religious than the average German is. And some of them wear, of course, insignia that reflect their religiosity, like
a cross,
or the Star of David, or particularly the headscarf, the veiling of women, and that is something that is the general German public doesn't like. It is the religious affiliation is more or less irrelevant for most Germans in the meantime, and if somebody wears religious symbols, then this is something that the general public in Germany doesn't really like. So what we have a dramatic decrease of acceptance of diversity in the sphere of ethnicity, and we have also a strong drop in acceptance of diversity with regard to religious symbols, religiosity.
Is there any parameter that's getting higher?
Yes.
Which one?
Would you want to guess?
Gender.
Yes.
Yeah.
It is the acceptance of equality, gender equality is going up.
That's good news.
Yeah, that is, and it was the only category where it went up, and there are two categories where there was hardly any change, like acceptance of, say, handicapped people, or also age differences don't play an important role. So whether it's not that. We have so many old people now, like me, and they. But nobody says in Germany, "I can't stand these children crying or shouting in the yard or something like that."
Zukunftsmusik, right?
Yeah, it's okay. These are okay, and gender equality is increasing, but acceptance of different ethnicity and different religious convictions has gone down.
Let's just for a second talk about impact, basically, of your work, right? Because we talked earlier about at the very beginning what drew you into the conversations around the dinner table, and I also have my own barometer. I call it the Straßenbahn barometer, because I will never forget when I was about 10 years old. I come from Houston, Texas, which is a very diverse, multicultural. Every kind of group you can have. My school was very diverse, and I never forget coming to Germany and with my grandfather on the Straßenbahn, and a man got on the Straßenbahn who was not white, and my grandfather just stared at him, and I thought, why is he staring at that person? I'm guessing it was from Africa. I don't know, but it was he was just staring, and I said, what's wrong? He's like, why is he here? And I thought, what is he talking about? And I wonder what my grandfather would think today if he got on the Straßenbahn in Bremen, because it's So the long-term perspective.
It has diversified. Yeah. I know from my own. I grew up in the 50s in northern Germany, not far from here, and there were, of course, American soldiers,
Right.
and you would have a black American rather frequently, but it was nevertheless it was
Unusual at that time.
unusual.
Right.
And then my parents always had a very open house, and one of these days, doesn't belong to my research, but one of these days, my dad invited a co-worker, a woman from his firm where he worked, and this woman said, "Oh, can I bring my fiance?"
Uh-huh.
And my parents said, "Of course you can." And then it turned out that the fiance was a medical doctor who had come from Africa and was serving on the Isle of Helgoland as a doctor.
Wow.
And wow, that was, for me, that was
Eye-opening.
really eye-opening.
Yeah.
And it said, yeah, well, this is,
You say it's
people
not about,
can be different.
You say it's not about your research, but obviously it played a role in
It did.
Yeah.
It did,
It's
yes.
important. And that's where I'm basically coming back to the idea of impact. What do you hope that this work will do? I mean, in terms of the research just published.
Well, hopes are
Hope, you know.
yeah,
or
hoping.
why does it matter?
Yeah, I would hope that it works against the well, I would call it a backlash in the sense that in the United States there's the Trumpian movement against scientific knowledge generation, and I suppose that it would be helping, yeah, that diversity doesn't get the label of being, yeah, how do they call it? Just derogated as woke or whatever.
Right. Not simplified to basically one concept.
Yes.
That has these 7 facets you're talking about.
Yeah.
And that you're creating an approach of how to better measure society, correct?
Right.
Wonderful. Right. I heard an interesting number the other day, 127. We now have 127 nationalities on this campus.
Yes.
To me, is the highest number I've ever heard here so far. And so, just sort of to round up the conversation, because we're kind of running out of time now, what do you think that this work with the students together with your Diversity Barometer will help teach them regarding, and also their experience on campus together? How will that translate into impact in the future? It's a bit of a muddled question.
Yeah, no. I think this is nevertheless at the core of everything, more or less. I think this the university we have all together we have established is a model lab of the positivity of that the contact hypothesis asked for. If
the contact hypothesis.
The contact hypothesis is the true, but have to discuss in what cases it is true, that you get along better with people who are different from you when you have contact with them. This is a very well supported finding, but it is important that this contact, the first contact, the second contact, the everyday contact is positive.
Right. Okay.
If for example the other shows behavior that annoys you every time you meet it, then of course the contact will not have positive effects. But I think on our campus, a lot is done so that many people see, well, the others are also very interesting people that have interesting
have the same basic needs and wants,
stories that are different from mine, but are interesting, and they came here for the same purpose as I did. And I think this is in a way a model lab where I always have to tell the story, so it's a bit pro domo, but
Go ahead.
I was, before I came here, I was a lifetime German civil servant.
Okay.
And I gave up my lifetime civil servant position and
Beamte, you gave it up?
I gave it up
Wow,
and
that's
came
risky.
here for a 5-year contract in
Oh,
the
my.
beginning. And I have never regretted it.
Yeah.
It could have been a problem had I fallen sick or something like that.
Sure,
But it was this experiment here is it had difficult times all the time practically, but it is worth it, because if you bring people together who are diverse and who get along well with each other, you do something for acceptance of diversity
Right.
that we want to further also with this study, because the Bosch Foundation doesn't do it because they are so wonderful friends of good social science research, but they want to further acceptance of diversity. That's maybe you can also sell goods better in this company, but
Sell more cars.
But they don't do that just for science funding, but they stand behind the idea, and this is something, of course, we like to take money from them in that sense.
Well, I think that's maybe a good note to end on, basically, the furthering the acceptance of diversity, because I think we've been doing that at this university for quite a
Yes.
while. And I just wanted to say thank you very much for coming to talk to us today.
Okay.
And again, thank you, our listeners and viewers out there. This is Renee Wells from Constructor Talks, and we'll say thank you, Professor Dr. Klaus Boehnke, for coming to us at this time. And maybe in 5 years we'll have another study, right? So it comes every 5 years?
Now we are trying to convince them to do it every 2 years.
Every 2 years, that'd be better.
Of course, it brings us fresh research funds.
Yes,
but,
of course. Yeah, keep
but
those PhDs going.
We also saw that there are some questions. For example, COVID was in the middle between the first and the second.
That's true.
And we had little concrete information on how did COVID influence that. So if we had a
More
short,
frequent, yeah.
then we could ask more particular questions on what had gone on between the two waves,
Right.
which was not possible this time.
Yeah, because I was also thinking about 2014. We had the wave of Syrian refugees. We organized a refugee campus here on campus, and then also we had the Ukrainian-Russian situation, another refugee center here on campus, and then in between there was COVID. So I could see how having more.
Yeah, it need not be every year or every half year, because things don't change that often, that frequently. But to have 5 years or 6 years in between is a bit too much, and I hope they bought that.
Let's hope they continue funding the study. Thank you very much, Dr. Boehnke, and I look forward to seeing you again sometime in the future. And to all of you out there listening and watching, you heard some human story here today from where he started as a young person being exposed to stuff, who now has then made a professional career out of science, was about Beamte, but then took the risk to basically leave civil services to come join our university, and then also working with young people today to help make science to have an impact in the future. I think it's really powerful, and I just want to say thank you as a researcher.
You're welcome.